anyone I want on Twitter over the.
Oh God!
I'm so Joe Rogan. You occupy one of the most prominent platforms online, and you're giving 2 hours to a guy who said I can ratio just about anybody I want. Like, there's two things I wanted to watch, and they actually are close to one another. This is the one guy, Ian Carroll show, who, from what I understand, like blew up on TikTok and is just like a rabid anti-Semite. And now he's on Joe Rogan, which is awfully suspicious.
Wait, what? How did he get to be on?
Yeah, no, it's just weird, man. This guy, okay,
the most sus man.
Yeah, Ian Carroll says,
Ian McPlant Carroll. Yeah,
Ian Carroll says he suspects Miriam Adelson and Donald Trump are kind of in a coup against Netanyahu right now.
Yeah, man.
Like, he's like pro-Trump.
You're a fucking genius. You are a Mensa level mind working.
Yeah, he's pro-Trump.
Well, why don't you focus on what Miriam Adelson is actually ruining right now? Okay, which is the Dallas Mavericks.
That's true.
Focus on what's important.
But that's like short-term thinking. She's doing that so she can move the team. I know. He was on InfoWars as well, for what it's worth. I dipped out of following him after that. Yeah, he's one of those guys that I think like started with like some anti-Zionist takes, and then like very quickly revealed his cards and was like, yeah, actually, it's the Jews.
Well, and like he also has a habit. I mean, like the way I see, like I've never watched like watched his content, but I see constantly on Twitter people like pointing out like how, I mean, he steals and takes things out of context from other sources that are maybe more legit, and then he also is, again, like it's all very suspiciously like why don't you hate the JOOs a bit more? Huh?
Yeah. Which is weird though, because on the one hand he's anti-Semitic. On the other hand, he's pro-Donald Trump, and here is him trying to maintain an anti-Israel and anti-Semitic position, but a pro-Trump position at the same time. Now, that's really interesting. He's basically noticer shit personified. Yeah, but you ain't noticing anything. That's the thing. These guys are so stupid. Like, They literally have to maintain this like right-wing MAGA attitude while simultaneously being like, I'm noticing the Jews are prominently in positions of power and in the media, and then they simultaneously will just be like, but Trump is going to bring peace to Gaza. Like,
that's like to me the biggest tell, where it's like, yeah, so. Like, I hate the Jews. I think the Jews have got a lot to answer for, and we're going to look into it. But you know who's going to be doing it? Donald Trump, the guy who's like half his family at this point is like Orthodox Jewish. He's going to be cracking the whip on those yids. That's right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Donald Trump. I promise. He's gonna dismantle the Zionist entity piece by piece. Okay, brother. Yeah. Wait. Watch out. Guy who got $100 million from Miriam Adelson and another 100 from Sheldon before he croaked.
I also do not enjoy how much I feel like he is like how like the vague Nick Mullen resemblance here is really displeasing me.
It is weird.
Talk about it. And
most people in the general public aren't even aware that the Israeli people were protesting against Netanyahu before October 6th.
Yeah, he's about to get kicked out.
Hundreds of thousands of people in the streets, and that it had been going on for a long time.
100%.
Yeah.
I suspect, I'm hoping I'm not blowing the lid on.
He has the worst voice cadence of
bingo.
So yes, bingo, that's right. So you're seeing
it's so funny. He's going to say something, and then like all the other Nazis are going to start calling him a Jew. That's the infighting.
Yeah, no, they love doing that to each other.
I love the Nazi infighting. It's so funny.
Well, wait, you saw the
one girl, the blonde girl who like said the N-word or whatever? And then they were like, "You're Jewish and you have a black husband or something." Like you have a.
Well, they also like I mean, it's also obviously not just like Jews specifically, but that guy whose real name was like revealed, the guy with the David Koresh Abbey on Twitter.
Oh yeah, the Canadian, the
Canadian guy. I don't want to say his handle because I don't want to give him the attention, but like he's a known presence. It's like his avatar is David Koresh the MAGA
JD
hat.
Vance follows him.
Yeah, and he is a Nazi. Has tweeted in a like KKK style.
Turns out his dad's doing woke DEI in Canada.
Turns out his dad in December of like 4 months ago took a photo on like posted it to Facebook of like because his dad's the dean of a Christian university
Yep.
in British Columbia, and they had a meeting with the Indian consulate, representatives of the Indian government, about obviously some an anodyne thing of like Indian exchange students or whatever.
That's great. Thanks, man.
No,
we don't
yeah,
we're apolitical centrists
Yeah,
here.
we're gonna find out, by the way, that this guy is like the son of 2 rabbis or something.
Trump's
Yeah.
idea here. I kind of suspect that Trump is kind of in on a coup against Netanyahu right now. This is just
No, the Democrats tried to do that with Benny Gantz, and it failed spectacularly.
Also, like anybody who delivers a very like earth-shattering like take like that in the voice of like of the voice of a Reddit commenter, like you can disregard. Like, so I think what's happening now is that
Hinostorm, fascist pigs, the same strategy they use in the Middle East, they're using it again here. Look at the Al Jazeera stream with this huge ass car hurling at them. Egypt. What's wrong with this guy? Went from calling Israel correctly fascist to being like, what's wrong with being I don't understand. There's just nothing wrong with it. Okay, thanks, chatter. Life comes at you fast. Well, I think you understand what's wrong with being a Nazi dumbass.
You have to ask.
Like
if that's actually one of the questions where like I don't think in 2025 you can ask that question and expect it to be taken in good faith, because I think everybody knows what's wrong, or at least what's controversial about it.
Also, while simultaneously being anti-Israel, it's the same reason why it's wrong. You like it's the same exact reason. Okay, the reason why it's wrong to be pro-Israel is identical to the reasons as to why it's wrong to be.
Your chat's convinced it was a yoke.
Maybe.
Just my theory, based upon the way he talked about like occupying Gaza and the way he's friends with Jared Kushner and the way he's friends with the Adelsons. I suspect that these powerful Jews, like the Adelson type people, are starting to realize that Netanyahu
Sorry, what did you just say? Powerful Jews?
He's noticing. These guys are so dude.
I hate these people, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, these powerful Jews.
Yeah.
Off, man.
Dude, listen, if you really want to piss off, if you really want to piss off pro-Israel groups, just don't even be anti-Semitic. Just be anti-Zionist. Trust me. Like that'll piss them off way more than being anti-Semitic. They're using you as a which I think this person is aware of, by the way.
Now I want to pause, by the way. I want to note that I actually think we should note that Hasan is only criticizing somebody right now for being anti-Semitic, because maybe Hasan is actually just himself anti-Semitic. I'm just saying.
I'm so much better at
anti-Semitism. And I just think
that's what it is. I'm so much better at than this guy, man. That's why.
Yeah, you got.
That's what pisses me off.
Yeah, you have to give him pointers.
I'm the master at it. You know what I mean? And it frustrates me to see these amateurs, going on the Joe Rogan Experience and just being novices. Okay, maybe I'm not number one. I'm number two. Candace Owens is number one.
Kind of sinking this ship, and he's kind of it all up, and it's not going well for Israel in the public conversation. Like I can ratio just about anyone I want on Twitter over the.
Oh God!
I'm so Joe Rogan.
I can ratio just about anybody I want on Twitter. That's how people like pretend that like rose emojis talk, when it's just guys like this who talk that way.
Bro, Joe Rogan, you occupy one of the most prominent platforms online, and you're giving 2 hours to a guy who said, I can ratio just about anybody I want. Like,
Israel thing, because the public
Soy Right is correct. Okay, straight up.
public sentiment is just shifting, and it's not healthy for anyone, for Jewish people or anyone else. And I'd suspect that
this guy who just said powerful Jews definitely cares about the safety of Jewish people.
powerful Jewish people are starting to see that and are starting to scheme on how do we get Netanyahu out of there and put someone in that can actually move us towards some sort of peace. Because without a genuine desire for
that's what Trump is saying. I can read between the lines when he says, when he brought out that AI video about like the bearded belly dancers in Gaza and how he's going to turn it all into this ugly golden monstrosity. That's what I got. My takeaway was he wants peace. He certainly, when he allows Israel to permanently annex the West Bank in its entirety, he's going to be doing it in a peaceful way. Okay, that's what he's going to do.
Netanyahu is on camera saying that they have propped up Hamas in the Gaza Strip because they don't want a real government in the Gaza Strip, because it's far better for them to run this occupation and to eventually take the land if Hamas is, that's not an exact quote. Everyone should look that up for themselves.
But not just propped up, but funded.
Do your own research.
Exactly, yeah. And intentionally kept there.
Just when you hear that, you're like, well, what's the logic for funding Hamas? What logic?
Well, it's the exact same logic.
These guys are so fucking stupid, man.
I'm willing to bet he's not going to give you the right answer.
Is us funding the Taliban.
Yeah.
It's the exact same logic.
Did you see that?
What? I mean,
I want to ask him who funds the Taliban, who funded the Taliban.
Yeah.
He'll give every answer but Pakistan.
Yeah, but also it's like, no, chat. He's not close. He's just a dumbass.
He's just stupid.
He's just trying to do.
Really stupid.
He's a dumbass who's trying to do
feel this thing and.
He's trying to do like anti-Semitism, but like
this guy is like a deep cover anti-Semite.
Want to hear his take on aliens?
A lot of reasons why NASA would cover up and produce fake footage from something like the ISS, and every single one of them rhymes with aliens. Because
oh my God, he's one of those.
Dude,
I love this man.
Dude, I swear to God. First of all, maybe you disagree with me on this, no, but I 100% think Alex Jones is controlled opposition.
Yeah, like, no. That's what I think about this guy.
I think this guy.
Was what I said about he's an agent.
He was on Infowars. Like, I'm sorry, dude. Alex Jones went from George W. Bush and constantly railing against the surveillance state while simultaneously talking about aliens and psychic vampires or whatever, to basically put a couple, crumbs of truth in terms of his commentary and then surround it, sandwich it, like package it with like insane in an effort to make it seem like only insane people have these positions. And this guy's doing a very similar thing as well. He's like, oh, I'm anti-Zionist, but also deeply anti-Semitic.
You know that this, when I say he was like a deep cover, I mean, like this guy, like the CIA stashed this guy somewhere in middle America and like kept him in a house from like ages 0 to 18 with the goal of raising him to be like the perfect TikTok Alex Jones.
Yeah.
And they knew how to do this obviously 20 years ago before TikTok was ever even conceived of. But my theory could use some work, yes, but I think it's the only thing that explains the situation.
There's any type.
And you do Jewish exceptionalism, which is worse. What? Dude, I feel like you watched the Bad Empanada video and you didn't understand the point that he was making, because he would literally put you in a goddamn cannon. Not literally, of course. I said literally, but he would put you in a cannon in a video game and launch you out of it because he does not have any, he doesn't entertain any kind of anti-Semitic statements. Cope. Okay, you're right. Bad Empanada hates me. And he thinks I do Jewish exceptionalism, which is,
hold on. You don't think I'm exceptional?
I think you're exceptional. Check his logs. Like this is part of the reason why I don't entertain any sort of like idiotic anti-Semitic nonsense, because it brings out the dumbest people on the planet. Have a chat with him. I can't. He's banned. I love Dan Clancy. Long live Dan Clancy. Hinkle is a Nazi. Wait, what? This guy is all over the fucking place. I don't understand where he's coming from. I think he just genuinely didn't understand the point Bad Empanada was probably trying to make in his video. I haven't watched it. I suspect that we have. If I were to watch it, I would leave it thinking. That we have a marginal disagreement that he has greatly expanded on, as though it's the most significant point of contention. But this guy is a DGG and LARPing. Oh, that's weird.
Type of aliens going on up here. It's very possible that they are up there in that space station, or they're
what?
Or like
he says, you lift up Israeli voices more than Palestinian ones. Basically, yeah, that's entirely incorrect. Ian is an ally of Gaza and Palestine. Why are you hating and disparaging him, brother?
Warning against powerful Jews is not an ally. Sorry.
Also,
an ally. That person's not going to help your cause here, pal.
He's an ally for Gaza and Palestine. He just said Trump is going to actually fix Gaza. He's going to do peace through strength. You're a real if you think that guy is not someone you should worry about.
Yeah, somebody who thinks the Adelson family is doing a coup against Netanyahu is not like a...
Here's the thing, okay? Anti-Semites only care about Jews, okay? They don't care about Palestinians. So if someone is talking about Israel, but they're anti-Semitic, okay, they're only talking about Israel because it gives them a permission to on Jews. If you take those people seriously, you will be led astray because their singular focus is on Jews, okay? You're naive. You're naive for thinking that these people care about Palestinians. They do not. If they did, they wouldn't be using a genocide as a backdrop to talk about how, Jews are the reason why all of this is happening, is the Jews, is the Talmud. Don't get distracted, okay? You're dumb as hell. Anyway, Bad Empanada would never entertain anti-Semitism, by the way, so that's why I don't think that person is a real fan. He probably misunderstood what the fuck he was saying, but what Bad Empanada was saying.
They could be, I don't know. And I'm not saying I think they are for sure. I'm just saying that people tend to look at a piece of evidence and jump too quickly on the one explanation that they're sure is right. And sometimes there's other explanations. And aliens apply to so many parts of our world, like demons. Man. Sound very much like the UAP phenomenon to me, right?
Kaya's had enough.
Yeah, this dude used to make videos about monopolization on private equity is a real problem. He drew in a lot of leftists, myself included, with all the corpo bashing. So he set up shop to anti-Semitism pill a bunch of leftists. Have you met this dude, Ian? No. How the fuck would I have met this dude? He's some random TikTok guy. I saw some other about this guy. He's like a QAnon guy. January 2024, Michael Flynn reposted one of Ian Carroll's videos about Pizzagate. Ian spent most of 2024 campaigning for RFK Jr., known Epstein associate and friend of Rabbi Shmuley. Confirm RFK, the refounding of the Republic OIC starts now. Interesting. Ian has been a huge supporter of billionaire Nicole Shanahan. Nicole Shanahan on Bitcoin, blockchain, AI. Nicole Shanahan is the Google chick, right? Who's also like a huge RFK supporter because they used to date.
She's a Google chick in that she got the money, like her money just comes from Sergey Brin divorcing her.
Yeah. Nicole Shanahan went to Stanford, known recruiting center for the CIA, where she met her husband, billionaire. Okay. This thread falls. Awesome. This thread falls out, dude. Why are conspiracy guys like this? This is why I love TrueAnon, because Brace only memes on this shit. He doesn't entertain this level of insanity.
I mean, no, Nicole Shanahan is like one of those people who's I feel like I know that this didn't happen, but in my head, the narrative of her life is that her parents put her in a microwave for 2 seconds when she was a baby, and that's just kind of what we're left with now. Because that's the speed at which her brain works, man. She sounds insane. She's never said anything to me that hasn't sounded like somebody trying to sell me a crystal. It's awful.
This is great, by the way. When the alt-woke super truthers ask me, how could you vote for a Zionist puppet Trump? This is how. An internet bill of rights. A federal ban on all censorship and thought policing with consequences. I can think of nothing more vital, especially to journalists today. Yeah.
Are those journalists here in the room with us?
Donald Trump, famous friend to journalists. Donald Trump famously has so much space for criticism of Israel, so much so that they're creating a anti-Semitism task force to basically lock you in Guantanamo Bay if you've ever hurt the feelings of the apartheid state.
Also, what is alt-woke?
I don't know.
What is alt-woke?
Just say woke, man.
Just say woke. You just be woke.
Yeah, it's just we're woke. We're the wokes. Ian runs a podcast with two friends, Kyle Kemper, Justin Trudeau's half-brother, Dustin Stockton, known MAGA grifter. What? Whoa, we got the chart.
Charts now.
We got the flow chart
We're on the
out.
flow charts.
Yeah. Ian has publicly supported various other pro-Zionist, pro-Israel, AIPAC-funded members of Trump's cabinet. RFK Jr. at HHS, Kash Patel FBI, Tom Homan as border czar, declassification of assassination and Epstein files pending.
I do like his erratic spelling. Tom Homan. It actually reminds me of Tim and Eric. It sounds like Tim Heidecker.
Tom Homan. That's how he says his name, though. To be fair, Tom Homan.
He says it Tom Hamam.
Well, because he's always like Tom Homan. That's what it sounds like when he says his own name. Because he's thing in real time.
It's like an automatopoeia, his last name.
My name is Tom Homan.
I like, by the way, the list that he went with, and the only thing that he puts as pending is that.
Yeah. No, this administration that is like just as pro-Israel, if not more pro-Israel than the previous one, is certainly going to declassify a collaborative CIA Mossad blackmail operation and all of the juicy blackmail that Jeffrey Epstein worked long and hard for. That's definitely going to happen for sure.
I do, by the way, think that like I'm not saying that there's like I don't think that there's a 0% chance. Like I think there is a chance Trump releases meaningful like JFK assassination docs because like for what it's worth, like the Clinton administration did as well with the ARRB. So like there's like and they've like reconfigured the National Archives website. My friend Jefferson Morley has documented this, but like the thing that's like super like interesting about it at least is that it's like. Yeah, it would be revelatory. It would be cool for the government to reveal that stuff. It's also about a 60-year-old murder. It doesn't like what skin is there off Trump's back for talking about it? Like, are we afraid that people are going to lose faith in America? Is that the problem that we like? There's a quality of this I've been thinking about with that anyway. Relevance.
He also never covers Peter Thiel. Technocracy, transhumanism covers the obvious ties of corruption in the Trump administration. He claims to have covered Peter Thiel multiple times, which is a lie. He spoke about Thiel one time, buried in an hours-long Old State Saloon presentation on Carbine 9/11, whose co-conspirators Jeffrey Epstein and Ehud Barak appear in his Elon ratio, but Thiel's name mysteriously is absent.
Confess that some of this sounds like Chinese to me.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is.
This has like serious like Spider-Man pointing qualities, I will say. Although there's
I mean, it's like sometimes you need an insane person to uncover other.
That's why we're friends with Grace.
Like
we talked about this.
Yes, exactly. Other obviously insane people, but I did, like I said, I saw some. Go back now. She's never going back. He's gonna do a joint FBI IDF raid on college campuses, which a 19-year-old IDF 3-star general is hospitalized from a freight-induced heart attack after seeing a teenager wearing a keffiyeh. Posthumously, he becomes a rear admiral general. Where there's more from the Rogan. Brace isn't insane. He's a small business Maoist. That's true. He also again, he's also white Chinese, which is very important to me as someone who's also a part of the white Chinese movement. White guys who want to be Chinese. Oh, here's the other one. This is the Red Pill Saiyan, which is another prominent neo-Nazi account. Ian Carroll and Joe Rogan on the Epstein files never coming out because they involve Israel in the night dancing Israel.
I like the hold on pause. I like the idea of it being 911 dancing Israelis.
I like the
all
idea.
900 of them.
I like the idea of it being Jeffrey Epstein was also one of the dancing Israelis. he was dancing as well.
That's actually, it wasn't the blackmail that got him in trouble. It was because he was a dancing Israeli.
Yeah, no, he was dancing too good. That's why they couldn't release it. That's why they never.
He was too nice.
Yeah, if people saw it, they'd be like, "Damn, Jeffrey."
It was Jeffrey Astaire, actually.
Damn, Jeffrey, didn't know you had swag like that. Oh, Jesus Christ. Actually,
well, no, because think about it, dude. When did Jeffrey Epstein get popped? Like 2020? And that was like because that's right when TikTok was popping off.
Yeah.
Know? And so like the idea was that he could have been like the most influential dancer on all of TikTok, which was like the dancing app.
And then he would have, I don't know. I don't know how to follow this logic. I've lost the plot.
I don't really think there's logic. Just go with it. Just follow it.
Felix was
Don't
also
logic
there.
it. Just follow it.
Felix was also there dancing per his admission. I like that dancing is actually prominent, like a prominent fixture of 9/11 conspiracies, because I was also dancing on the rooftops of New Jersey as with my Muslim friends. Which Trump also said, ironically.
It's the dancing Muslims who were celebrating, but then there were the actual dancing Israelis who were the news article.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. What's up with the dance? Why are the Jews and Muslims in this joint collaborative project of doing?
I think people underrate
why were they dancing?
Dancing brings people together. It's it's movement and rhythm and time. It's I understand why dancing was part of it. I get it. I get it.
All right, let's see what he says.
Out of all the information that's getting disclosed, supposedly this administration, what do you have the least faith that we're going to come to
Epstein,
a conclusion?
for sure.
Epstein.
And I think it's because of Israel. I
Really?
think that when you really dig into Epstein, his entire network was Israel. It was clearly like Ehud Barak was the ex-prime minister and the ex-head of Israeli intelligence.
Like the shit that I hate about this is like he's not. I can't believe I'm saying this. He's the worst person to be saying this, but like he's not completely incorrect, but he is incorrect when he says like, oh, it's just his entire network is Israel.
Well, yeah, and it's I mean, like Google, Siri, could you look up for me Bill Burns visiting Jeffrey Epstein?
Thank you. Exactly.
Like, could we look at all the other people that he was in? Like, obviously, like, it's pretty clear that he has. Like,
he lived in America, dog. What the f- do you mean? Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, it seems like there's it's credible and worth examining, and like you can go so far as to suggest like, yeah, he was part of like an Israeli intelligence operation, but he was clearly also a bit more than that, which is like part of where the confusion is. Yeah, it's not so obvious.
Yeah, I just don't understand. Can you tell me what you think of Ian? Why you disagree, please? I disagree with him because this is a not so subtle and not very clever way to just like constantly make things about Jews and like the Talmudic thought, whatever the f- these losers always complain about, which is ironically enough, it's the handshake of fascism on the Israeli side and handshaking of the fascism on the anti-Semitic, anti-Israel side, and they play a role together. The idea that Judaism plays a formative role in Israel, or that in Israeli society and what Israel is doing is ridiculous. It's not correct at all.
Leslie Wexner was one of the most powerful pro-Israeli philanthropists. The whole organization was Israel.
So
and I'm not saying it was all of Israel.
It was all an intelligence gathering and
it was targeting Americans. It was targeting American officials and the American president.
Right.
And the CIA does have interest in those targets too. Elements in the CIA does. Certainly they had help from the CIA, and certainly they had help from these other organized crime and intelligence operations. But you don't like, so for example, Dan Bongino,
you can literally see his eyes like rolling into the back of his head to try and remember the chapters of the Whitney Webb book that he read clearly on the toilet like 6 months ago. Like, it's just so vague and unuseful. Like the only proper noun aside from Israel that he's able to like consistently slide in here, as near as I can tell, is when he has like this very ostentatious Jewish that'll come out at some point. Because if he hasn't said it yet in the video, I'm sure it's coming.
What is he, deputy director of the FBI? He recently had this clip that went all around where he said on camera that he had a source that he trusted deeply. And he's an informed guy. He was at a Fox News interview, and the source told him that Epstein was working for an intelligence agency in the Middle East. And I don't know which one, but someone in the Middle East. And to be fair, we all already knew this. We already know who he worked for. At least I think so. But I'm looking at, okay, Dan, so if this giant group of Jewish...
Does this guy actually think that like Mossad agents don't also collaborate with the CIA and can't work for the CIA as well? Like I don't understand. Does he think that this is like there are definitely agents that will exclusively work for Israel and obviously release sensitive information to Israel. And we kind of overlook that a little bit because of our, allegiance and need for Israel to exist in the ways that it does. Having said that, however, like this is a collaborative effort. Am I wrong? I don't know. I mean,
but I think it's moreover that it's like, all right, you think you've identified an Israeli asset. Are you only able to talk about the work he did in the context of the Jewish network that he pals around with and how the Jewish people are influenced? Like, it just is like no shit. Like, Epstein has ties to Israel and that he worked with them, and he has, particularly the relationship with Barak is highly suspect above everyone else.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, Barak is not, like, he's been mostly out of power for the last 20 years. Like, there's also just like a degree to which it's like when we do see the moments in which like Epstein supposedly has like these very meaningful connections to government and power, who are the people getting him out of trouble? It was the American government that got him out of trouble when Epstein was accused of being in the United States.
Yeah,
it was the American government that sent a CIA director to go visit him.
It was Trump's labor secretary, Alexander Acosta, who was the Florida prosecutor who gave him the sweetheart deal. Okay? That's the guy who kept him out of prison after he got popped the first time. Like, what are you talking? How can you be pro-Trump simultaneously while also It's being like, nah, it was the Jews. Yeah, it wasn't Barack Obama. It was Ehud Barak chatters. When we say Barack, we're talking about Ehud Barak.
Well, and also I would add that like the other piece of this is that, you know, like the thing Epstein was accused of or whatever, that like the broad scope of like sex trafficking and political and sexual blackmail. I think that like we can say and openly acknowledge that like Israel has used these kinds of tactics within its intelligence work. They've used prostitutes to entrap people working on the Iraqi nuclear program in France. I think that's a pretty famous case, like a small one, obviously. But like, it just strikes me as pretty clear that like, what is the guy who was posting about how Gate was real as recently as early last year now saying that there's a Jewish network, explicitly Jewish network, of people doing sexual and political blackmail on behalf of Israel? You know, I can't put my finger on it, but something sounds a little bit sus with that picture. I don't know about you.
Yeah, there's no collaborative effort there with the American intelligence communities at all. He just happened to literally exist within the confines of America while being one of the most high-profile pedophiles of all time. And I guess our security apparatus, our law enforcement agencies, like none of them were aware. He was just a Jewish guy doing Jewish things for Jewish Mossad.
Well, you know who is really going to give us, like, who if he is unburdened by the deep state will be able to give us all the information about Jeffrey Epstein. It's going to be Donald Trump, who definitely was not a friend of Jeffrey Epstein's, and who definitely was not seen on video standing next to Jeffrey Epstein checking out younger women.
Yeah,
it's definitely going to be that guy who's going to do the, like, you know,
famous White House of South. Mar-a-Lago was used famously as a hunting ground for Jeffrey Epstein's next victims on numerous occasions, including the most high-profile victim, Virginia Giuffre, who ironically outed Jeffrey Epstein's friend and lawyer Alan Dershowitz as one of the people that, you know, sexually assaulted her. Interestingly enough, Alan Dershowitz is also a prominent friend to Donald Trump. And, of course, Israel, yes. But also Donald Trump. Yeah.
The Trump-Roy Cohn connection is actually kind of relevant to bring up here, just in the sense of that, like, the things that he keeps, like, suggesting about, like, this is, like, you know, some compromise operation on America from, you know, outside or whatever. Like, it just feels... everything about this guy feels off. Everything about his take on the situation feels off. It just feels, like, indelicate, imprecise, and that for those people, you know, I would say, including myself in this category, who are curious about what happened, who are curious about like what it suggests about how power is wielded within this country and so on, like it just feels like, cool, this is like how you drive like a monster truck all over the evidence.
Oh, there's more to it. Remember, this is another thing. Chatter is correct. You just reminded me. I forgot to
Steve Bannon. Oh, the Michael Wolff thing. You're right. You're right. You're totally right. I forgot about this.
There was a
new thing.
Steve Bannon. No, not the new thing. This
the documentary.
One. Steve Bannon filmed Jeffrey Epstein for 15 hours. His documentary has never surfaced. Steve Bannon took 15 hours of video of Jeffrey Epstein in the months before Epstein died in jail. He said it was for a documentary and a claim that doesn't stand up to scrutiny. Sources say Bannon was friends with Epstein and was trying to rehabilitate his reputation. Epstein declared he was a firm believer and supporter of Time's Up, the organization to fight sexual harassment. Okay. I made my living from old thinking, Epstein said from his palatial Manhattan home, but the future is for the way women think. Bannon pushed back. A clip published by the New York Post in 2021 shows Bannon verbally sparring with Epstein. Is that kind of sop because of all the depravity you've done against young women? It was vintage Bannon, the right-wing operator, threw a Molotov cocktail in the political left's arena hoping for chaos. The clip supposedly promoted a documentary, The Monsters, Epstein's Life Among the Global Elite, from Bannon's production company Victory Films. Before Epstein went to jail on sex trafficking charges in July 2019, Bannon spent months in the financier's homes in Manhattan and Paris. He boasted he shot 15 hours worth of video. How the did Steve Bannon get this level of access to a serial blackmailer of incredibly wealthy and incredibly powerful individuals? How did he get this level of access?
I mean, I would still say that the other thing that like there are like again, in addition to footage like this, like there's other things that like we could know about Epstein that we do not, that hasn't been released. Like specifically, like the thing that for example, like the thing I would love to know is what exactly did they find in his safe, and other, you know, what's the inventory list of what they found in his home in that safe when they actually raided the house in New York City. Like there remains just so much stuff that like is not released or whatever, but like there's just all this like vague talk about releasing the Epstein files and shit.
Bannon grew closer to Epstein in the summer of 2018, advising him on how to handle his myriad legal and media investigations. They continued to spend time with each other through the following summer when Epstein was arrested in Manhattan on sex trafficking charges. It has not surfaced anywhere, not in the criminal trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, who was convicted of assisting Epstein in sex trafficking. Bannon's explanation that he was producing a documentary about Epstein was nonsense, according to people who spent time with both men the time that they were in each other's lives. In reality, the two acted like friends around each other, and Bannon, these people said, was trying to help Epstein, a notorious sex offender with his public relations problems. Bannon met Epstein in December 2017, shortly after he stopped working in Donald Trump's White House. Epstein had his own history with Trump. Participants in the Manhattan and Palm Beach, Florida social scenes, they befriended each other in the 1980s, but had a falling out in the 2000s. After Epstein died in jail while awaiting trial, a compensation program funded by his $630 million estate identified about 150 of his victims. Later litigation found the number close to 200. Bannon, at the time, was serving a 4-month sentence after a jury found him guilty of contempt of Congress for flouting a subpoena from the House panel investigating the Capitol riot on January 6th. He's also awaiting trial on criminal charges over his role in We Build the Wall, an organization whose co-founders
that was so funny.
That was a paraplegic vet, right?
Yeah. That was like the fundraiser for the wall.
Yeah, I know. Alan Dershowitz, I did not forget, was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer and Trump's impeachment lawyer. Was Alan Dershowitz Trump's impeachment lawyer?
He was on the team. I mean, he was like in the. I don't know if he was. I mean, truthfully, he cycled through so many lawyers that I'm not sure who was on his team at what point.
Bannon, who frequently speaks to journalists, did not respond to numerous voicemails. He did not respond to an additional request for comment in a letter mailed to him on July 9th in the federal prison in Danbury, Connecticut, where he's incarcerated. Alexandra Priate, a spokesperson for Bannon, told BI in December 2021 that the documentary about Epstein would be screened probably around Labor Day. The date came and went. Priate has not requested to follow up queries in the 2 years since. Yeah, and then there was also Epstein talking about his relationship with Trump.
I mean, it just sounds like, based on that question that gets leaked, that like the whole point of it is like not actually about making Epstein look bad, but it's about like showing how like see how liberal perverts like Jeffrey Epstein are endorsing Time's Up. Like it all feels like it's part of these like.
But the very fact that he got this level of access to Jeffrey Epstein is also suspicious.
Yes.
I don't know. Bill Barr's dad was the head of the private school where Epstein worked. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, Don Barr. We know.
But I don't know.
Jeffrey Epstein went to Interlochen with William Barr. They took a photo together. There's a lot of weird shit. Why did Don Barr at Dalton insist on hiring this guy who didn't appear to finish like college, but is supposedly some whiz? Like the whole thing's strange.
His brother, Mark Epstein, said Bannon was trying to help his brother rehabilitate his reputation after the Miami Herald 2018 published a series of articles which ultimately led to an indictment by federal prosecutors in Manhattan. Mark Epstein told BI that his brother had sent him footage of some of Bannon's interviews with him. In that interview, Mark Epstein told BI last year, Jeffrey said he stopped hanging out with Trump when he realized Trump was a crook.
That's awesome.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, Hitler said he didn't anymore. He said he was too out of pocket.
Mark Epstein said he inquired about the footage in a meeting with Bannon in New York after his brother's death, but Bannon refused to share more information. Mark Epstein said Bannon asked him for money, saying he needed $6 million to complete the documentary. Dude, okay, never mind. Maybe it's Bannon was just fleecing the Epsteins.
That would be pretty funny, blackmailing the blackmailer.
Yeah, that's typical Steve Bannon, though. He's a
I interviewed him once. He talks to everybody.
Oh yeah, he loves the media.
He loves
billionaires.
He's a yapper.
Is running a sex trafficking operation targeting American politicians and business people and stuff. You think they're working with an Arab or Muslim nation in the Middle East? Like, you think that Leslie Wexner is devoting his entire...
Yeah. Famously, the American intelligence would never work with Arab and Muslim nations in the Middle East. Like, but Trump is really good. He's doing peace in the Middle East with the Abraham Accords.
By the way,
with the Abraham Accords, which is, you know, a joint security cooperation agreement packaged as a normalization of relations with Israel between nations that already have normalized their relations with Israel. What were you going to say?
Just that, like, one of the other pieces of this that I'm kind of like, I don't know, like it just feels, I remain skeptical of anybody who spends this much time talking about this kind of 2025, but has like no actual way to connect it to like things that are going on. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, why are you saying the same exact things that we've heard from like a million other people for the last like like repeating over and like, it just feels, I don't know. Like I don't want to sound like jaded or like I want to dismiss like the gravity of like what people like Epstein did or like what like, you know, what that kind of like conspiracy political culture, like how it like is destructive to a country or destructive to the world or whatever. But it just feels like just like retreading over and over and over and over again. It just feels like prurient. It feels like tabloid stuff. It doesn't feel like it's actually trying to educate people in any meaningful way.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I can't tell if he's just like just stupid and didn't understand the book that he claims he read, or he's just like deliberately misrepresenting it and only talking about the Jewish nature of these espionage actions.
Well, these, by the way, if your people want to see an interesting documentary about Les Wexner that has a nice Jeffrey Epstein bit on Hulu, the documentary about Victoria's Secret, Angels and Demons. It's like about how Victoria's Secret was this place of like rampant sexual exploitation and projected this like hypersexualized imagery and culture. I was interviewed for this documentary, and there was a lot of information. There's a lot of information in it that's really good and well sourced about how Epstein fit into Les Wexner's life, and it frames it within this like larger conversation about like, well, what does it say about how these people are like crazy, like nutcase, like crazy, in their own right, and then they make something like Victoria's Secret.
By the way, this is the crazy part. Sex Pestany's lawyer defending him against the lawsuit against one of his victims is Andrew Brettler, Prince Andrew's attorney when he sued Virginia Giuffre.
Well, listen, it's
the same law firm.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, listen, if one ever finds themselves in such a position, you'd want legal help that's experienced.
Yeah. Yeah, with a upstanding track record in working to fight and defend sex criminals of the highest order.
To philanthropies on behalf of Israel, but then he's going to work for Saudi Arabia when he's doing this trafficking ring?
Right. But if someone says to him that they're all...
How is that far-fetched? Someone who's working on behalf of Israel also simultaneously working for Saudi Arabia? What is far-fetched about that? That is more proof that he is most likely CIA.
I mean, well, I think you're just listening.
What why does he unironically think that like there's bad blood between MBS and like Israel or something? Like, are you stupid? It's just, oh God. The answer is yes.
Country in the Middle East, knowing he knows what that means, but not specifying, doesn't he kind of have to repeat it that same way?
Well, he also has to repeat it the same way because he won't get the job if he says Israel. Exactly. Because Israel has so much control over our government right now. And I'm not saying that all Jews are in on something. Clearly, internet. Thank you.
Internet.
And Joe is definitely not saying that.
Definitely not.
But the Israel's government is as vulnerable to the deep state effect as the American government. But I would argue that Israel's government is way more vulnerable to it because of the people that founded Israel and the way it was founded. It was founded in a modern time, much more recently, by like it was a revolutionary founding. And I can totally sympathize with the Jewish desire to have that state. Like, I get it. But because of the way that happened, the people that founded Israel were a bunch of organized crime figures in America, the Jewish mob, that were helping with money and with arms trafficking to get the guns there because they had to have guns. And it was the Rothschild banking family sending a whole bunch of money and getting the declaration in the first place. And then the people that were there, the three different organizations, the Irgun, the Lehi group, and the Haganah, those were the three like paramilitary groups that fought to found Israel, and they're like the heroes of Israel, which I understand the narrative that they're heroes, but when Israel was officially founded, they officially designated Irgun and Lehi as terrorist organizations because they had been bombing civilians. They'd been bombing British civilians.
Dog, Lehi called them, it was Lehi.
Also, by the way, it's not Lehi.
Lehi?
Lehi, yes.
Yeah.
It's called, like, it's not the fucking Lehi Valley. It's called Lehi.
Also, Lehi called themselves terrorists, didn't they?
Yes.
The first official act of terror before they changed the definition was the bombing of the King David Hotel, where these terrorists, these Lehi and Irgun terrorists, a bunch of different groups, one of the guy who planned that bombing later became the prime minister of Israel. They were bombing civilians. And like, so when those are the groups that are fighting to found that nation, even if all the Jews there are wonderful people, the leadership is inherently composed of these people that have been deeply corrupt for all time. And so you get this fertile ground for this kind of deep state effect to take power. And when you start to research the heads of state of Israel...
You are stupid. That's not like where a deep state comes from, is that there were a bunch of like nationalist terrorist groups that like started like the founding fathers of your country, like, which is true. That is not connect.
Well, deep state did come from a nationalist paramilitary group that was developing a parallel state in Turkey with NATO.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put shade on the Grey Wolves' names, but it's just not like there's.
That's where the OG deep state comes from.
He's just like describing though like this like wholly organic like as if this thing isn't like like where are the great powers that are like facilitating the process in which all this is happening in this story? It's just like a bunch of like It's just so half-baked, man.
No, it's like weirdly, it almost loops back around to being weirdly pro-Israel, to be like, no, these were a bunch of upstarts that just like they just kind of got together and happened to do a revolutionary act and develop the Israeli nation state.
Israel over history, you realize that a bunch of them were in those groups doing those terrorist acts and have done a bunch of dark stuff because those were the people that were at the top of that military organization. Like those terrorist organizations reformed to form the IDF.
And what's interesting is
party.
You can talk about this now,
Exactly.
post October 7th.
It opened wide open.
Post Gaza.
You want to know a funny story?
Yeah, no one was talking about.
This is insane.
No
man.
one was talking about the.
What does that even? Like, where does that thought come from,
dude? No.
How is that like the thought that like occurs and it was
I'll
like,
tell
both
you.
untrue and irrelevant?
I'll take it one step further, Joe. There's this concept called the new historians. Okay, post October 7th, they came out and they released all these documents they had found. One of those guys then said,
"You're kidding."
It's all post October 7th. Before then, no one knew about this stuff. Okay,
Whoa.
No one was allowed to talk about this stuff. Why? Because I found out about Israel after October 7th because I'm a idiot.
That's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
That's
Wow.
why
So what you're saying?
the Haganah, Irgun, Etzel, the Stern Gang, and the Lehi red-pilled skeptics need to
Actually,
up.
I didn't know shit about it. And I started doing 9/11
We noticed.
And I was doing a 9/11 video on my YouTube, and I knew about the dancing Israelis conspiracy theory that is very much a real set of documents. And I knew that I'm not allowed to talk about Israel for some reason, and I didn't really know why. And I realized, like, I better stand this thing before I crater my new channel and career.
Bro, I started Googling, and I went, wow, this is scary.
This guy.
Wow. Yeah. I was doing a 9/11 documentary, and I just realized, like, man, be dancing, dude. Yeah.
And then it got me thinking,
my
You ever
favorite
been to a college
my
dance marathon?
Yeah.
You know who's doing it?
Jews.
Yeah.
My favorite is the Nick Mullen bit about this, where it's like, all right, guys, we put everything together. We set all the events in motion for 9/11 to happen. All right, I got one more thing I got to do. Let's leave the clues.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, that Mullen bit is so good. One more thing.
Yeah.
The clues. Like the dancing Israeli thing. It's weird. It's interesting to look at and talk about. I don't know what the guy thinks that he has such a firm idea of, like, how would it all meet? Like, and then, but he can't even, like, he's unable to, like, synthesize it.
Yeah.
On this topic, I don't understand. If I'm going to take a stance against Israel at all, I should understand why and how. And so I started doing research, and I shelved that research, and I switched to researching Israel and Palestine and the history there and what's going on. And I finished the video, and it was October 6th. And I was like, I was very worried because it's like, you weren't allowed to talk about it. And I had just made this whole documentary about the history of Israel, Palestine, and the propaganda and what it all was. And I published it on October 6th on my locals channel. And I kind of had this like lean back and like, if that's the end of the ride and I get canceled for this shit, so be it. And then literally the next day, and I'm not saying that October 7th was a good thing, but I'm saying that literally the next day, the entire internet was ablaze about Israel and Palestine, and everyone was talking about it. Wow. And it was the weirdest coincidence. Like,
okay, now I definitely believe he's a Fed.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Guys.
Mossad told him what was coming, but they didn't tell Bibi.
Yeah. now I believe that he's a federal agent. Okay.
I got to split in a minute. I got to dinner.
Oh, damn. All right. Well, I'm about to end this right now after the wonderful words of this man.
Oh, yeah.
And suddenly it was
I'll see this part out then.
Yeah, let's finish this up.
All right, let's dig this thing open, because unfortunately it is, I think fortunately, I think that the state of the Israeli influence that sustained them for so long, that was essential to them surviving this long, I think that it has grown cancerous to the Jewish faith in general, because Jeffrey Epstein is the perfect example of this. Jeffrey Epstein was the world's most prolific and evil sex trafficker that we know of so far, ever. And he very clearly was a Jewish organization of Jewish people working on behalf of...
What about Genghis Khan?
Oh, damn. It's true.
Just saying.
It's true. Historically.
Israel and other groups. And so that's a dark stain on Israel and on the Jewish people.
Jimmy Savile's pretty bad too.
Yeah, there's a lot. I will say, I don't think it's so unequivocal. Epstein is bad. He's definitely, I would draft him in the first round. His fundamentals in the trafficking game were really strong, but he had competition.
Yeah. I just, God. I do find it very, I do find it suspicious that the only people that get play, especially in prominent right-wing networks, that get to talk about Israel this way are people who are just like openly anti-Semitic usually. Or they just like say things always about like noticing, you know what I mean? How much they notice certain things.
Well, and in his case, he doesn't like. He sounds so like he's like it's destructive to the Jewish, like the state of Israeli. Like these words feel uncomfortable coming out of his mouth. He does not sound like he has like a real grasp on the concepts, on the people, on the thing. It just sounds like he's making content. I don't know. I mean, I would like to live in a world where I am actually being too hard on this guy, because in that case, he's not a bad guy, but. I don't know. He's sus, man. He stinks.